Welcome, loony listeners, new and old, to an all-new, just about the same, episode of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. A lovely podcast with your friends Connor and Rey, all about the fabulous and murderous hero Moon Knight. I'm one of your hosts, Connor.
And I'm your other host, Ray, and tonight in episode 46, we're looking at just the one comic, a classic run, which is Marvel 2-in-1, number 52. It's a night music, so sit back, grab your issue out, relax, and get your Khonshu on.
Yes, thank you for joining us in what is sadly becoming more bi-weekly appearances from me. I've now get myself back on track to be with you all the time. But yeah, I am here for another hopefully fabulous episode of this podcast. Got a classic review with the Thing. Kind of like the Thing. I'll go into that a bit more, but it's the Thing. But we're here for Moon Knight, of course, because we love him. But actually, we're also here because we're good friends. So Ray, how you bloody been lately?
Oh, been pretty good, Connor. It's been good. Yeah, it's always great to come back together and chat all things Moony and all things Marvel, I guess. Things have been okay. We have a long weekend here for any non-Australian loonies. So Connor and myself on the Monday we've got the day off as well. We are recording on a Saturday night. So that's always good to have an extra long weekend, and yeah, just got some friends lined up to come around for a barbecue, stuff like that. How about yourself, Connor? What have you been up to? Yeah,
not much. Finally settling back into the rhythm of things, but I've got a slowly amassing massive pile of like 100 issues the past couple of weeks I got to catch up on. So it's pretty good.
You haven't been reading your weeklies, or?
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy time. I've only been managing a few issues a week, but I'm finally back on track on it. And by celebrating, I'm reading classic runs on Marvel Unlimited. So
oh great,
it's probably more my own fault than anything. But
look,
I play the somber song for myself.
No, it's great. I mean, classic runs are always good, and it's exactly what we're going to be looking at tonight as well. That always gives a bit of a flavour, and we find the decades are distinctly different. So maybe one night you're keen on reading an 80s comic, the other night you might be well into the 90s. So there's just so much variety out there, not only with titles, but in the way things were drawn and written back in the day. Always a bit of fun. This coming week have been slightly interrupted with a bit of the sports, Connor. So there was the State of Origin, which occurred, and for Australian loonies, the State of Origin is a tussle of rugby league between two states, New South Wales, where I'm from, and Queensland, where Connor's from, and it's one of the nation's greatest rivalries, I think. But it was a cracker. I don't know if you caught that, Connor. Did you?
I knew the highlights the night after, but
yeah,
just goes to show sometimes the newbies beat the old guns with New South Wales, showing they're pretty good at recruiting some new players.
Yeah, it was a bit of a changing of the guard, I think, for both teams, and let's face it, the only way that we can beat Queensland was to wait for the legends that Queensland had to retire. So it only took...
the best in the business.
Well, look, I have to say, hats off. They are the best, and they are immortals in my eyes. And we had to wait 12 years before they actually retired, before we actually have a chance now to win. So, the New South Welshmen, the Welshman side, they won. So I was a pretty happy chappy on Wednesday night. Again, look, sorry, kind of a little sporty stuff. FIFA World Cup is coming just around the corner. I'm not sure if you get excited for that. I kind of do every 4 years. It's a really great world event. Do you watch it at all?
No, I sadly usually don't get the chance. It plays at like 3 a.m. or something.
True.
Sometimes when I'm over here, so
oh yeah,
I like to. It's pretty fun, but
yeah. Oh well, you may have it ahead of you, Connor. I remember many a times when it was held, I guess, in Europe, heading off to the pub at like 1 o'clock in the morning over here because of the time difference. And the pubs would be packed, with soccer fans, football fans. And it was just like, to me, it was similar to like New Year's Eve. It was such a nice vibe because, they all come out of the woodworks, these fans. And of course, a lot of people in Australia have different backgrounds. So you get a lot of, I was living in a Portuguese quarter a few World Cups back where it was heavily populated by, I guess, Portuguese immigrants or people with Portuguese backgrounds. And it was just really fun. Down the road was a Little Italy, which was Leichhardt. So you have the Italian supporters there. It's a really fun vibe. So I think this year it's in Russia. So I think for us the time difference isn't too bad this time round. I think it might be I think 7 or 8 hours. But that that's better than 14. So
yeah. Like the Infinity War of bloody sports.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a massive event. So looking forward to that.
Hi, this is Phil Parrish from the Capes and Lunatics podcast, a proud member of the collective, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Anyway, enough about the sports. One of the other big things that's come up, and we were just talking about it then, Connor, was the premiere of Cloak and Dagger on Freeform and on various different networks or providers, depending where you're from. I was pleasantly surprised by this double episode opener. And you haven't caught it yet, Connor?
No. Sadly, it hasn't dropped for us in Australia, so I'm trying to find some method of getting it to myself, but I'm very keen. I love Cloak and Dagger growing up. They're always kind of those heroes I never really had enough of to read, but I always love them, so it's pretty cool finally getting them to have their day. Big Spidey boy growing up, and they're pretty interlinked, but by all sounds, a success.
Yeah.
More than I was expecting.
I was about to say though, but you picked up the digital comic though. There's one that was released this week as well, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, by one of my all-time favorite writers of the new decade, Dennis Hopeless.
Yeah.
Wrote
Was it good?
Started writing Grace. It was fantastic. I'm not sure if you ever familiar with Hopeless, but one of those writers I'd happily have on Moon Knight. He just understands the character, understands their powers, understands what makes them true and what direction they can go in while feeling true to the character. He did a fantastic Avengers Arena run and the Spider-Woman run, both of those, top 10 runs.
Oh, absolutely. I was about to say, I was about to reference Spider-Woman. That's where I loved Hopeless's writing. That was just a brilliant run, I thought, and I'm hoping that Spider-Woman comes back with her own title. Also, he did a very short stint between Jason Aaron and Donny Cates with Doctor Strange as well, and I thought he handled Doctor Strange really well. I've got all confidence that he will handle Cloak and Dagger really well in the comics, and I might just have to pick that up. Connor, was there anything significant that happened in the issue without, I guess, any spoilers? But
it's a pretty big shift in dynamics. So It actually starts with Cloak and Dagger apart. Mm-hmm. There seems to be some some big reasons from that, some moral grounds being stepped on, stepping over the line, some pretty grisly murders happening in the town.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome. It's a Comixology exclusive for the moment. These things do eventually come out in physical trades.
Yes.
If you wait, probably end of the year, we'll probably get it physically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you kind of think, should you wait or not, or just jump right in and get it. It's I'm assuming it won't have much impact to the greater Marvel universe, so it's potentially you can sit on it and wait for it. But as Connor said, if you're a fan of Dennis Hopeless, it's probably something that you should be checking out right now. And what you mentioned actually rings very similar to the TV show. And look, without giving any spoilers away, because it is still fairly new, and in truth be told, I managed to obtain a version of episodes 1 and 2, although it hasn't officially released in Australia. We can put that down to, I don't know, some Cloak and Dagger, whereabouts. But all I can say is that I think it's really solid start, and similar to I don't think it is a spoiler in saying that I like the way that they treat Cloak and Dagger in the series. It's still very early days, but they're essentially 2 separate storylines that go through, and they kind of cross paths every now and again, which is cool. But yeah, really nice storytelling, I think. Great performances, Aubrey Joseph and Olivia Holt. I particularly liked Olivia Holt's performance. She had a bit more range to show off in her role, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, definitely worth checking out and looking forward to the episodes to come. So yeah, Cloak and Dagger. I think I put in a spoiler thread as well, just because I got so excited for the show. It's posted up on our Facebook group for Moon Knight. But hey, also Connor, there's a chance that, well, maybe we might get a reference to Moon Knight. I mean, they're street level as well.
Yeah, there's always a chance. I suppose it's kind of adding a bit of news, I guess you could say. One of our sort of news topics is that Cloak and Dagger fan demand caused the production at Marvel, just showing that fans sometimes really can get their way just by really showing the interest, showing the love, and I think it does show hope for Moon Knight, but I also think Cloak and Dagger's a really interesting one to look at, like just for the future of Marvel TV shows. Because I mean, it's not like teenage focused drama shows, or I guess the YA TV show with these 2 characters is something like impossibly niche. Genre, but it's still something that's pretty different than we've gotten from the Netflix and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Peggy Carter. Like, just really. They're really stepping out, and I mean, we've still got some other things in the works, like possibly the Freeform New Warriors, but it just shows that with them branding out, there's so many new things that can happen, and so many new horizons that it's really hard to label anything out, even if we shouldn't be clambering over it like every CBR headline they like to put in. But it's pretty exciting times, and I think regardless, I think Marvel ahead of themselves are just putting out stronger and stronger seasons and shows.
Oh, for sure, and I think there are a couple of good points to come out of that from what you say, Connor. I think number one, you can flip it around and say, it's great that this fan demand seems to have caused production of Cloak and Dagger, which is a great thing. That how true that is, we don't know. It could be a matter of convenience, and for all it takes a lot more to obviously get things off the ground rather than fan demand. But it is good to hear from Marvel that they acknowledge the fans. But what the encouraging thing is from that is that Marvel are acknowledging fans. I think whether or not this is true, but the fact that they are saying, we listen to the fans. And it just goes to show how responsive Marvel are to their fan base. And that's a very important thing because, the fans are what make things, I guess, successful, So that's a really, really good thing. The second thing was, as what you touched upon, Connor, about, I guess, the sheer diversity and the ballsiness of Marvel to try different things. Like, I think I mentioned in the spoiler thread, and again, I'm not spoiling anything, but I think I mentioned to one of the loonies, like, don't hold your breath for Cloak and Dagger, for action scenes or what have you. It's essentially a drama, but it isn't a I don't know, a Dawson's Creek or something like that. It's not so kind of pigeonholed that you can call it a young adult or a teenage drama. It's a pretty solid drama, and there are a lot of things to it that actually would appeal for all demographics. Maybe not for the very young. I mean, because there are some adult themes in there. So I guess what I'm getting at, and what you're saying, Connor, about the New Warriors, is that Marvel are happy to try different things, and the same way that they're doing that with the movies, trying different genres. they're just applying that to the TV show. So this is nothing like your Netflix. I would say it's nothing like your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's nothing like Agent Carter. It's probably something along the lines of The Runaways. But yeah, then again, I mean, I'm looking at those two and I see differences as well. I much actually prefer, with only these 2 episodes, Cloak and Dagger over The Runaways. I felt The Runaways kind of lost a bit of steam towards the end, and having said that, I haven't even watched the last 2 episodes. Have you caught any of that, Connor, or The Runaways?
No, I am pretty behind on TV shows, but I'm pretty keen from it. You know, there are some
it is good
interesting things. I think it seems to do. So I think when that one drops on DVD, that'll be a pretty fun binge for me. Oh,
don't get me wrong, it is good. It's just that, you know, I guess we are saturated with stuff, so it's hard to stick out of the crowd, you know. And The Runaways is solid, and it will appeal more to people if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm a lot more excited with Cloak and Dagger. Anyway, just going on from Connor's point of that first bit of news, we just got a very quick one as well, which has popped its head again. Connor, this came out like a few months ago, I think, and
righto.
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear that again. Hang on, maybe I got that wrong. It says the Daredevil showrunner wants a Moon Knight series on Netflix. Was that what's the fellow's name? Stephen DeKnight? Was that Stephen DeKnight?
I actually don't remember his name.
Let me have a look. Because if it's... it is him, yeah. Okay, I thought maybe potentially it was another Daredevil showrunner, like Marco Ramirez. But no, Stephen S. DeKnight, yeah. And he said this a while ago as well. So we're kind of retreading this, but the news that came out this week was, that Stephen S. DeKnight would want to make a Moon Knight series on Netflix. I'd see it, and I'd be confident that he would handle Moon Knight well. What are your thoughts, Connor?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's always fun to hear. Nothing really substantial, but you know, it kind of brings an interesting question too of whether we want, you know, someone who's delivered a stronger season as Daredevil season 1, or do we want some fresh blood as well? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I'd like him possibly overseeing the project with a group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, actually, just Connor, totally not Moon Knight related, but it is exciting. Very quick, Iron Fist coming out this year as well. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, on the
Reddit, was it?
The AMA with Jeff Loeb.
How cool is that?
Yeah. I think. Yeah, he spoke a lot about just possibly staying tuned in future. You know, the kind of easy answer for whether Moon Knight's coming or not. But I think there are plenty of exciting things in the work to get worked up over. Mm.
Yeah, again, I think on our Looney Bin, or I think on the Facebook group. Before Moon Knight, there's definitely Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. Yes. I think that's at the Eternals, and there was another Marvel property which seemed to come before we'd even consider Moon Knight. So, yeah, he's got to get in line still, but hopefully we'll see him soon. Connor, and the last bit of news you put in this, it's very exciting, actually. I'm pretty keen on this.
This, so we actually got... kind of a stealthy release. I didn't hear much hype about it, and then I saw it in the releases, and it wasn't on the week of that, and now it's bam, it's in your face. We saw a complete collection of Ed Brubaker's Secret Avengers, which, if you don't know, hopefully you do, was a really cool series, 2010, of like this kind of undercover group of Avengers that did these. You know, the kind of dirtiest, more secret ops missions, and Moon Knight became a part of that team, you know, one of the first teams he was a part of since Marvel Knights, possibly.
Yeah.
And it was really great. We had Brubaker's, I believe, Warren Ellis actually followed him after that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, or possibly even another writer on top of that. But yeah, it was a pretty great era for Moon Knight before Ellis revived him in his own 2014 run. But yeah, it's just super fantastic spy stuff. a lot of great ensemble. Moon Knight really does get to shine. It's incredibly well written. Brubaker's a master of the craft. So is Warren Ellis. It's approved in his own Moon Knight series, but he wrote this his own Secret Avengers before that. So yeah, it's in a complete collection. We've attached in the show notes a really fantastic review by adventuresinpoortaste.com, which is a site I really like. So, we'll get there eventually when it comes to reviewing it, and I am very keen for it. So yeah, in the meantime, there's a pretty great review, and just trust us. Check this one out if you haven't. Great spy stuff, great Moony stuff.
That's great. I'm not too familiar with the Secret Avengers run. I love Ed Brubaker's stuff, like on Cap and on the Image book, Kill or Be Killed.
Oh, lovely.
He is a great. I really do love his writing. Even I think he did some Punisher. I might be getting that mixed up with Remender, but Ed Brubaker is really good, and this is timely as well. The complete collection. Have you got a copy of the Secret Avengers at all, like in trade or anything?
Oh no, I discovered it via Marvel Unlimited all those years ago, and I haven't picked it up since. But this is, great opportunity. These complete collections and epic collections are so well priced for what they are.
They are. They're so good. These complete collections. Because they've actually gotten me so much into trades because, I do like the odd trade here and there, but when they're about like 4 or 5 issues long, you can like really burn through them quickly, you know what I mean? And with these more substantial trades like complete collections, when they're about your 450 pages, or maybe just under 500, they are substantial reads. And not only that, as a collector, you're rest assured that you've got the whole kind of arc or series just encapsulated within, whereas a smaller trade might be, the first half of the arc or something. So, complete collections and epic collections I am a huge fan of. So I will definitely be hunting this one out. And so you've read Secret Avengers, Connor, and it is up to Brubaker's standards.
Oh yeah, I can't believe you haven't read it. I'm very keen to tackle this with you then, because it's just
great,
just phenomenal. I think anyone who's read it sings its praise. It is kind of like unknown, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Still very well liked, but nothing.
So it's kind of like it's kind of like, is it kind of like the X-Force of the Avengers?
Yeah, totally, the X-Force of the Avengers.
Okay, and I can imagine Moon Knight would be up to his knees with a whole lot of stuff that I'll be excited to see Moon Knight in action again, also as well interacting with characters in the Marvel Universe, because that's one of the things that Moony I find is a pro and a con that he lacks. Sometimes he's so well contained, he could just literally be in a universe unto himself. So it'd be good to see him interact with others, which is good. Yeah, well, okay. Well, that's a bit of the news that covered this week. Connor, why don't we head off over the moon? Yes. So we are over the moon, and Connor and I, we just had a little discussion before the show. I know previous episode we did mention we would be tackling our classic and modern run. What we're going to try and do, and whether it succeeds or not, we're just going to try and shake up the format a little, just see what kind of works. We're always up for new things, keeping things fresh as well. And as much as we loved, the bare bones and getting guests to narrate and write the bare bones and go through a classic and modern run, we thought, why don't we just try the one comic and mix up how we kind of review it. So this will be as we mentioned at the start of the show, Marvel 2-in-1, issue 52, a little night music. And what we'll do is I have no name for this first bit, Connor. I called it a silent night, but I don't think that's applicable at all. But anyway, what we'll do is I'm going to actually throw it to you, Connor, because I thought I might as well try and keep you on your toes. Connor will encapsulate the issue in less than 3 sentences.
Less than 3 sentences. Does it count if they're big sentences?
You may add commas, but but it has to be in one breath. Just the sentence per sentence. So Connor will encapsulate the issue in less than 3 sentences or less, and then we're just going to have at it. We're going to have it with the comic and just talk about stuff that we found really cool or what we found interesting, and obviously we'll try and keep it Moon Knight centric. So Connor, we haven't discussed this off air before, but I'm throwing you under the bus, and I'm wondering if we can throw it to you for our Silent Night. How would you sum up? Oh, actually, sorry. Why don't you give us first the credits of this issue, and then give us your summation?
Yeah. So talk about meta. In June of 1979, writer Stephen Grant.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a fairly decent name at the time. He wrote a lot of Punisher. Actually, I think it's where his big credits. But Stephen Grant. Mm-hmm. So Moon Knight may just be real. Maybe I wonder. In the time before us.
I think we asked this before as well, but I wonder if Doug Munch named Stephen Grant from this guy, Stephen Grant.
Yeah, possibly. That's an interesting question, actually.
Yeah.
So with writer Stephen Grant, artist Jim Craig, and Pablo Marcus, colors by Ben Shawn, letterers Gaspard Saladino, great name, Rick Parker, and then editors the legendary Roger Stern and Jim Skelkrip.
Mm-hmm.
So
Connor, with this issue 52, how could you best summarize what happened in this issue?
All right, in 2 sentences, an ex-CIA intelligence decides to wipe the Earth of some evil, bloody superheroes by first taking out Ben Grimm, but luckily Moon Knight's there to help team up with him, take down a bunch of bozos, and that CIA effort himself from ever trying anything like this again.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's a cute little one-shot, this one, so kind of a bit easier to summarize, actually. Good one to start with. A
good one, nice, easy to ease into it, but that's a pretty on the point kind of summary. That's very good, very cool. So as Connor mentioned, it had and the villain reveal was Crossfire.
Is he a person who's been around? I don't know.
He has. Oh, okay. Well, we'll get into that. I found it quite funny. He seemed, in this early iteration, to be slightly different to how he's depicted these days. But we'll kind of get into that. So I guess the first thing I would say, which is pretty cool, and what I found, was how much Ben Grimm, or the Thing, didn't really like Moon Knight. I thought that was pretty funny. How towards the beginning, Moon Knight crashes in, and the Thing could not stop talking about how there's like an endless array of costume bozos, trying to be superheroes in the city. What are they doing? And he was really annoyed with Moon Knight. I think when Moon Knight came in to honorably try and help the Thing, because in the opening act, there's an older gentleman who has escaped some thugs, and he tries to get Ben's help, but Moon Knight tries to help as well. But I found that quite interesting. A bit of how shall we say, a bit of elitism there, Connor, from the Fantastic Four member, one of the original members, not wanting any other superheroes in the city. Yeah,
so something strange happened in the 70s and the 80s, which I still don't explain, despite what I'm going to say later that sounds contrary to this. But for some reason, the bloody Thing was super popular, like massively popular. Like, out of all the Fantastic Four members, the Thing was it. We've reviewed issues of 2 and 1 before, long before issue 52, actually. But around this time, people loved the Thing. He became the star of 2 and 1. It was the Thing, another character.
Right.
A whole bunch of issues. So, it's kind of fun, and there's actually a few other parts of this that's almost fun commentary on the season itself, like just how many bozos the Thing constantly gets paired up with. So, I mean, I kind of feel his pain. Moon Knight, it's pretty new on the scene. Yeah, and I mean, they love the Thing. Like, when 2 and 1 eventually got cancelled, I believe it was John John Bryan.
Oh, John Byrne.
John Byrne.
Yep.
I'm an idiot. Big writer of Namor and all that.
Yes.
He actually wrote The Thing solo series.
Ah.
The Thing was just so popular. He continued on past 2 and 1.
Right.
So yeah, so Moon Knight's pretty new on the scene. Pretty cool to get him in this one. It was kind of at the height of its reign, I guess.
So you reckon the Thing being quite annoyed with Moon Knight was kind of almost like an in-joke about how the Thing had been teamed up with so many people, and he's kind of like, oh, yet another one. It could be it could well be an in-joke by Stephen Grant, the writer, saying, look, we are teaming up the Thing with all these characters, and maybe the Thing's noticing it. Possibly. I mean, that's what I gathered from what you're saying. And the thing is, I can see the Thing being quite popular back in the day. I think he's got a lot of the grassroots, being from Yancey Street, being really kind of although he's superpowered, he's really kind of a street level blue collar character. And maybe that appealed to a lot of the readers, I think. I mean, you've got Reed Richards, who's very highbrow, he's super intelligent. He has his glamorous and powerful wife in Sue Storm, and the Human Torch. He's pretty cool as well. But the Thing has always been the heart, I think, of the Fantastic Four, and maybe that's what's been his appeal. I don't know.
Yeah, what I was about to say before about Contra to Believe, I believe you mentioned on this before how you kind of have a soft spot for the Hulk.
Yeah.
Big Hulk smash guy. I kind of have a soft spot for the Thing, I realised over
nice
the years.
One. Yeah.
He's pretty fun. I think, he's got a new Marvel 2-in-1 series happening right now with Johnny Storm.
Oh, okay.
He's great.
Yeah.
He was great in Infamous Iron Man. But yeah, he's pretty fun. Just how ridiculous his writing was kind of holds up regardless of when you're reading him, and the John Byrne stuff. His writing, and when he took over Fantastic Four as well, also ridiculous, but a pretty fun blast from the past.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, this was quite an enjoyable issue, I thought. And
wasn't it though? It was like it almost didn't suffer from as many of the over exposition or a lot of stuff that was happening at the time. It's just kind of a fun issue full of action and quips more than anything more excessive than that. No,
it kept on ticking along, and I guess it had more than enough for Moon Knight or Thing fans out there. So pretty good. What did you find interesting about this issue, Connor?
I think Moon Knight really got a chance to shine this. Moon Knight got fairly well treated over the years, but I think this one, more so in particular than his other Marvel 2-in-1 matchups, is given a lot of agency and a lot of individuality. Yep. Like, we reviewed the Hulk magazine stuff, which is a pretty fun spy comic with Moon Knight. A lot of the earlier 2-in-1s kind of have him as this costume creep, but here is, he's quipping along like the original Doug Moench stuff in the Hulk magazine. That was Moench, right?
Yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah. He was quipping along like that. He's Jake Lockley and Mark Spector get equal reign. He takes out plenty of thugs himself. Gives a Thing all run for his money in battle is a valuable asset. I think the way he's drawn here is really cool. There's a lot of actually really fun use of shadows to give his costume the cool look. And I gotta admit, I'm a really big fan of the cape attached to the hands. I think that still looks cool. So
really? Yeah.
This issue was kind of a pretty cool win for Moon Knight. I could see this actually winning a lot of newbies over to Moon Knight's side if they're picking up 2-in-1.
Oh, he certainly could handle himself, couldn't he? And he was, he went, he could fight alongside the Thing. So I can definitely see the appeal that he would have for people. First time, seeing Moon Knight. But yeah, there actually, and as you say, there's a lot more to him, I think, blossoming here from Stephen Grant's writing. So again, we see Moon Knight as the escape artist. We saw that in one of the Defenders comics when he escapes, that pit with the can of beer.
Oh, the can of beer!
Yeah, the can of beer. Over here, he's been tied up in chains, and whooshka, he manages to escape, while the Thing has been kind of diverting or distracting Crossfire. So Moon Knight seems to be able to escape out of anything, which sadly we don't see that ability used that much, but I do like the fact that he can always slip away. Also, he has what seems to be a bit of a history with Crossfire in the CIA. So we're actually given a bit of a window into Moon Knight's past. Like, we know that he's been in countless things, right? He's been in the CIA, he's been in the Navy SEALs or whatever, he's been a heavyweight boxer, he's been fighting in, rebellions and stuff. So we get a sense of his CIA background, and he... the thing that really interested me, at first, he recognized Crossfire straight away. He recognized his voice. So he knew the guy. I'm struggling to think his real name. His surname's Cross. He's a brother of Darren Cross. And Connor, to answer your question, more recently now, he's been tied with Ant-Man, actually, more than anything, Crossfire.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's the brother of Darren Cross, who is Yellow Jacket, or in the movies, and in the comics, he's kind of like a big reddish pink Hulk, Darren Cross. But his brother is this gentleman, Crossfire. And anyway, Moon Knight's CIA past is kind of fleshed out a bit. And we see also that he's not susceptible to Crossfire's brainwashing, which is pretty cool as well. So a lot of little things you can pick up on Moon Knight, which you necessarily haven't seen before, or hasn't been explored before, which I find really cool. And also the fact that his mask is still white. Like, we don't get yet the black, in the Shadow's face, hooded face. So you were saying that you mentioned you enjoyed this costume, which is very classic. But yeah, I did like seeing his masked face, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the CIA thing is particularly interesting here, sort of setting up a backstory that was sort of hinted at with Monch, but kind of got thrown away. But I think it was pretty nicely done here. I thought it added another interesting layer of mystery. I think especially since possibly at this point they already had June of 1979, possibly a new series lined up coming up.
Yeah. By
Monch, so, who knows? But, yeah, I think, there's a lot of stuff that changed between now and that first Monch issue.
Yeah.
And especially the look, but, yeah, I think there is still, despite the, it's kind of interesting, because when it comes to the look, it's more his torso that becomes shadowed than the...
Yeah.
Than the mask, actually. There's a lot of slinking about with his face about, if you could say.
Yeah. And I mean, you're right as well. There is so much that changes come 1980 when Munch gives Moon Knight his solo series, because there's no mention of Egyptology at all. Not much at all here. This pretty much focuses on his government ties as a CIA member. But yeah, it's so it would be interesting to see between now and 1980 how Munch starts to incorporate other stuff into Moon Knight. I mean, again, he's pretty much a straight cut Cape Crusader. There's no mention again of his personalities. And interestingly enough, Connor, I wanted to mention I was listening to Epic Marvel podcast hosted by one of our fellow loonies, Curtis Findlay. And he manages to interview a lot of very famous past and present Marvel creatives. And he interviewed Ralph Macchio, who is famous for editing, obviously, the inception of Moon Knight and the Hulk magazine. And Ralph Macchio, I found it just interesting, just as an aside, he never saw... He actually doesn't like the whole... identities thing with Moon Knight. He always saw Moon Knight as, Stephen Grant, Mark Spector, and Jake Lockley as a consciously, how shall I say, role play that Mark Spector did. It was never meant to, it was never meant to be like him having a different personality or a different identity. It was just like, he said, it was very similar to the Shadow, how the Shadow would change personalities or change personas into someone else, whether it be a billionaire or a taxi driver or a mercenary, but he does it consciously and he does it with a purpose. Now we see Moon Knight evolved into having this DID and these personalities or identities having a much greater role in Moon Knight. And I tend to disagree, I guess, with Ralph Macchio. I mean, I know he was partly responsible for the inception of Moon Knight, but I tend to disagree. I think the identities of Moon Knight make him a very interesting character. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I agree. I think the whole Khonshu and the split identities it brought so much more interest to this character than any sort of like CIA links they were sort of setting up here as his main interest, which possibly got people on board, but he did end up being a mercenary, but also with so much more to bring him back to the presence against a bunch of new and exciting villains that played into all these different character attributes. So I think it was a pretty cool stroke of genius back in the day. I mean, shocking. We're complimenting Moon Knight in his entirety from his inception. But I think even one of my favorite things from back in the Moach days that almost kind of hasn't transferred to now, that almost Moon Knight as a separate entity entirely.
Yes.
Yes. It's kind of now that Mark Spector is Moon Knight.
Yes.
But back in that first one, it really did seem that Moon Knight was a whole separate thing. He took on like a whole nother personality with him that was more violent or heroic or quippy, which is probably like almost not a complaint, but just something I really miss.
I think it has been a bit of push and pull with that, actually. I mean, I think for a long time, Moon Knight, as you said, and especially with the 90s run of Mark Spector Moon Knight, I do really think that Mark Spector and Moon Knight went hand in hand, like they were one in the same thing. And as you're saying, early in these days, it seems like a separate entity. And I think almost now, currently, we see Moon Knight as... now I think it's almost as a given, right? You have Moon Knight encapsulates, and it was shown in Lemire's run, that Moon Knight is a separate entity unto himself. Then you have Mark Spector, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, and now you even have Khonshu as part of that as well, because I think, as we discussed in our reviews of Lemire, Mark Spector was able to... I guess not absorb, but he was able to accept. I think there was an acceptance with Khonshu, so he kind of had Khonshu under wraps, so to speak. But yeah, I think what you're saying, I think it's kind of really vacillated over the years, and it's sooner down the track again, it's going to change again. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the fun things that writers can do with Moon Knight. They can just play around with how these identities interact with each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you go on? I don't really have anything that interesting to say, really.
Oh, no, look, I was about to say, just contrary to what I said before as well, I mean, in this issue 52, we still do see a bit of the use of the identities with Mark Spector changing into Jake Lockley to give the Thing a cab ride to... It's really funny, like, I think. The Thing is on a rampage trying to find these goons that killed the guy at the beginning of the issue, and he jumps into a cab to their secret warehouse. Why not just why not take public transport to wherever you need to go? But yeah, we do see Jake Lockley here, and at the very beginning we see, I'm pretty sure it's Mark Spector, right? But I always thought it would be Stephen Grant. But yeah, we do see, I think it's Mark. It must be Mark. I'm just reading there quickly. No. Well, yeah, we see either Mark Spector or a Stephen Grant at the beginning of the issue. So there is a showing of different identities, but at this stage, I think they're not fleshed out as a part of a mental state. They're literally just, how shall I say, just identities. What's the word, Connor? They're just characters that Mark Spector's playing.
Yeah, which I mean, it's definitely fun. I could almost see why, people liked it at the time. But what can I say? It's kind of more fun when they seem like two different people, and now more often than not, they're actually conversing in Mark's head.
Yeah.
If we imagine it back here, it's even kind of more fun. Him teeing up the cab drive.
Yeah.
Whips.
Yeah, exactly. Any other points here, Connor, that you found funny or worth a mention?
Let me just kind of have a flick through. I think like I was saying, I kind of already sung the praises of the writing. Like it's there's better issues of 2 and 1, more exciting writing. It's a pretty simple villain setup, simple conclusion, and 18 pages. But the writing is really fluid. But back then, obviously anyone that got working on this to make him such a success has like great use of personality when it comes to the Thing, and Moon Knight's pretty distinctly set up with one quickly. I think the art's also pretty fun.
That's great.
The version I've got, kind of grainy and faded after all the years, but there's a lot of almost like great Kirby-esque use of square shapes of the Thing, and Moon Knight has a really distinctive look.
Yeah.
In his body type, in the use of facial expression, definition, and a really full-on suit. There's some great full-page spreads. So yeah, I mean, admittedly, like when it comes to looking at the past, there is plenty of great artists back working here, and even 2 and 1. Like I guess there really was a reason why it's success. It holds up. Like there's even a couple of panels I'll share from here in the Moon Knight group because it's a really fun take on Moon Knight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think what adds to that fun as well with the art, and it's not just with this issue as well. I think it's more like issues around this era. And what I found really, really fun with this was the art. But what I miss in a lot of, I guess, contemporary issues today is that in your fight scenes, in your action scenes, like the one that we have here, they never go into as much detail as they used to do, and maybe that's because, people's tastes and have changed and all that, but I still really love it. And so what we see here, I found the action scenes really well thought out, and there's actually detail in the action, if we work backwards, and actually, if I can also say, Moon Knight is the MVP in this issue. He's the one that actually, I reckon, saves the day. And as we work our way backwards, he's the one that actually throws a crescent dart and sticks Crossfire's arm to the wall when he has that grenade. And in typical 70s, 80s fashion, Crossfire's stuck and the door's closed and there's just a loud explosion, which is horrific, to think, but we're kind of desensitized with the level of violence that involves. But so anyway, Moon Knight kind of saves the day by literally kind of killing Crossfire, but we don't see him, so he must escape. Also, as well, Moon Knight is not affected by the brain waves that Crossfire shoot across to both the Thing and Moon Knight. And Moon Knight's CIA training, because he has trained with Crossfire before. Crossfire doesn't know that Moon Knight used to be a CIA member. So he is immune to, I guess these brain waves that will wash over the Thing and Moon Knight. And it's because of this that Moon Knight is able to tackle Crossfire and to save the Thing, basically. So things like that where the action and the battle actually gets into detail, if that makes any sense, rather than, I find a lot of comics these days with the action, it's very incidental to, they might be fighting, but they're obviously still conversing, or there's still dialogue happening, and there's not much detail in what they're happening. They're either just shooting or punching. I love how thought has been given into the fight scenes here as well. Even with Ben Grimm, the Thing, he can't get through the steel door, so he does a bit of lateral thinking. What does he do? Okay, I'm not going to try and bust through the steel door. I'll bust through the wall right next to the steel door. And that's how he gets into Crossfire's kind of headquarters. So that sort of stuff. And Moon Knight, he uses his crescent darts again. He dislodges a lot of guns. Really, really cool stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think we sort of covered it. Obviously, pretty cool that Crossfire appeared up here and became a Ant-Man villain. I was just looking it up as we were talking. A Hawkeye villain for a while as well.
Yeah.
So he had a surprisingly good run of it all.
Well, it's funny, Connor, as well. That's another thing I was about to mention with Crossfire. Over here, in this issue, he appears to have a lot more power or skill set than he does, like, most recently. I'm familiar. I'm familiar with him in the, I think the Nick Spencer Ant-Man run, where he, and I assume he's more like an assassin. It's more kind of like Bullseye. I think that's the whole thing with Crossfire. He's like a sniper. But over here, he seems to have at his disposal these brainwashing tools, and he seems to be able to whip up some tech, that does stuff. And they even mention here how he plays like a mad Horowitz, and I kind of like that reference because Vladimir Horowitz was one of the 20th century's greatest pianists, classical pianists, and being a pianist myself, it's always fun to read. But, he seems to have a lot greater skill set here than what he eventually has at the end. At the end, like, recently now, he's kind of seen as a not quite smart, you know what I mean? Kind of like a B-list thug. Like, if you compare him to Bullseye's way more deadlier than Crossfire.
Oh, yeah, radio, I suppose.
Yeah. But his uniform hasn't
possibly
changed.
He was too overpowered in this one.
Possibly. I mean, he seems to have a lot at his disposal, and he seems to survive a bomb blast at point blank range. And there's a bit of a history here of Moon Knight, recounting Cross's day, and he seems to have escaped another horrific accident as well. So he seems to be quite either lucky or quite savvy with what he's doing. But anything else here, Connor, that might pique your interest?
I think we've covered it pretty well here. I think we've got a fairly nicely rounded review. Yeah, so,
exactly. How about we still stick to some Crescent Dart ratings here, or how many?
I think Crescent Dart ratings are pretty good. He did throw some pretty nice ones in here. Got a good few hits.
Yep. For sure. I would give it. I'd give it a 3. I think 3 Crescent Darts. I think it's a pretty decent issue, and it's a one shot, so there's not much at stake. It was enjoyable, but not totally memorable, unless of course you really love the Thing. So how does it stack up against the other Marvel 2-in-1s, Connor? Do you know?
Yeah, I think 3's a perfectly good rating. Like, we've sung quite a few praises in here. There's some, good character writing, good art. Doesn't suffer from a lot of the, some other problems we had back then. A lot are moving actually pretty well into the writing of the 80s that became far more, accessible to modern readers. That we'd see. This one's pretty basic. Pretty basic villain setup. I think even in another almost meta reference, Stephen Grant references other issues where this exact same plot plays out.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's it's basic. There are more exciting, more bizarre, possibly funnier issues of 2-in-1 out there, but it's a cute little one and done that actually, if we were reviewing it back then, is a pretty good sales pitch on Moon Knight for a series that would debut a year later. So, yeah. 3. It's not gonna kill you. It's fun, but if you miss it, you miss it.
Yeah, true. So there you go, Loonies. With an average of 3 Crescent Darts from both Khonshu and myself. Yeah, really good art, as you said, Connor, and yeah, really well paced, I thought. So yeah, check it out, Loonies, if you can. This one might be a little harder to get. I know a couple of Loonies have managed to purchase the single issue themselves, being serious Moon Knight collectors. So there are a few hovering around. Otherwise, just check your Marvel Unlimited or potentially Comixology. I haven't done my homework again, Connor, so I'm not sure if it's on there or not. I'm assuming it is. If it isn't, Marvel Unlimited is your best bet. Also, I think it's also in the Epic collection of Moon Knight.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So that would be in Volume 1, I'm assuming, Bad Moon Rising. So check it out at your local comic store.
Hi, this is Dave.
And I'm Stu, and we're from the Signal of Doom.
We're proud members of the Collective, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Okay, well that's it for our reviews. Spectacle, Connor, I've just added this in here, and I forgot to mention it at the top of the show. I wanted to shout out the Flameheads over at Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, only because just recently I've managed to buy again a Blu-ray player. I know everyone's into their 4K Ultra, Connor, and blah 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 resolution. I've got a bit of a Blu-ray collection, so I'm sticking to Blu-ray. And where I'm going with this is that Brian and Chris, in their latest Inner Demons Ghost Rider podcast episode, they do a running commentary of 2007's Ghost Rider starring Nicolas Cage. So I just had to get a Blu-ray player because our old one broke. And I can't wait to listen to their podcast along with the movie. So if anyone's a fan of that movie, just head over to Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, and check out their latest episode. It should be a lot of fun. And I think the Blu-ray is an extended cut as well, so you get another 10 minutes of Ghost Rider goodness, or another 10 minutes of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I'm not sure goodness put anyone near that movie, but love what you love, guys. I'm keen to check that out.
By all means.
That's good setup to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I wanted to say, next phase, we will be returning. So for our 47th issue next week, we'll be returning with our Isla Ra books, spotlights of some loonies. So I had the good fortune of having a chat with one of our loonies, David Finn, from the Signal of Doom podcast. And we have a good chat about his 4 Desert Island books, as well as, just to talk about, how he got into comics. He's a writer as well, and how he got into podcasting. So it's a lot of fun, and it's good if you want to know a bit more about your fellow loonies. So check that out. Connor, you have something lined up as well. So we're going to do a series of these, and we're going to pop them in sporadically. Connor, you've got something, lined up with one of the other loonies,
yeah? We've got one of a big time member in the Looney Bin, and on the page. Danielle, excited to get her on. Desert Island Books, we'll be recording that in the future, and I've got an interview coming up that will interest some of you.
Oh,
I won't quite reveal those details just yet.
Oh,
get hyped.
Very cool, very cool, lovely. Well, there you go, loonies. There's so much more to check out on Into the Night. Just be sure to pop in. We'll be still doing just the classic reviews. I know we said that we would do the Warren Ellis modern run. We'll just see how this kind of goes first. If it kind of falls on his ass, then we might reverse back to your classic and modern runs or something like that. But hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun. Connor, going through this episode with you, this issue with you. It's
and make sure to keep in touch with us on Facebook or emails. We'll list out in a second what you thought of this, the way this episode worked.
Yep. I saw you posted something up, Connor. That was really cool. And hang on, let me see. Just in case, you may have gotten a couple of bites with your
I got a fork in there to test it was if it was hot.
Yeah.
But I had some pretty exciting times with the pie today, involving it's good Moon Knight food, especially if you're going back in the day. It's pretty well, I'd say beefy as a descriptor, but it was a chicken pie, so I mean that doesn't work.
It's a pretty.
It was a good pie, even burnt. It stood the test of time.
It's very
kind of like this issue of
this
issue of 2-in-1.
Very arty, I must say. Your photo is really cool. You have this huge baking tray, and you've got this lone pie in the middle, in the corner there, and there's a beautiful, lovely, colourful comic digital copy right next to it. It's gold, kind of. So, Loonies, check it out. Drop us a line there. Come on, let's get the conversation going. Con is he's showing his pie to everyone, so you've got to do it.
I can't cook, but what I can give you is a list of places to find us and
excellent.
And talk to us about our pies. With,
beautiful.
Specifically, our Facebook group is facebook.com/group/ITK Moon Knight. Ray and I met in another Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
We got plenty of people on our Isle of Ra coming from there. It's a great community.
Yeah,
it's really active. Maybe if you're a Moon Knight fan who doesn't know that many other Moon Knight fans, you'd think, whoa, that's pretty. That's something you never expect. Like I was when Ray first started this group.
Yeah, it's good.
Looney
it's
fans
great.
Tonight.
They are. The Loonies are passionate and they're dedicated. That's what I love about it. And they have come out of the woodwork and they're accepting of a lot of things. I mean, of course, they have their ideas about how they want to see their Moon Knight, but I think it really helps with Moon Knight because he's been chopped and changed so many times throughout his volumes that Moon Knight fans are just generally easygoing. They're happy to go with the flow. You know what I mean? And I think that's really, really special for the Loonies. So, cheers, Loonies.
Yeah. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/ITK Moon Knight. Our website for all things Moon Knight, one of the best places to find the episodes, updates, and anything else is on our Facebook page or our website, intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com. We have a Twitter account at ITK Moon Knight. Ray runs that. Keeps us super active and wonderful. We got an Instagram, a Tumblr, a YouTube. Podcast catches will hopefully be on all the ones you listen to. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast, and hopefully it'll be easier for you to find our docile tones in your inbox every week.
That's great. We do love to whisper in your ears. So that doesn't sound creepy at all. So thank you.
ASMR's big now. It's fine.
What's that?
I think ASMR is pretty big now. I think.
Okay.
I think we're standardizing the weird whispering.
Ah, lovely. You totally lost me, but I have no idea. Anyway, thanks so much, Connor. Always a pleasure. You got to catch up on your books and catch up on your TV shows, but really the books, catch up on them first. They're a lot more important. And any last words, Connor?
Well, only one thing. It's clobbering time. May Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you next week. Love you all.
Catch you later, guys. See ya.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.